Hi fashion lovers, you're welcome to another interesting video. In today's tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make a bustier dress, a bustier gown, just like what you're seeing on the screen. I'm going to show you the best method or the best way to get a way-fitted bustier, whether you are making a top or a dress. So if it is something you want to learn, you need to keep watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If you're new here, you are highly welcome. This is So Style with GB. Kindly subscribe and turn on the notification bell. To all my subscribers, thank you for subscribing. Let's get started. So to get started, I'm going to just mark 1 inch as my starting point line, and I will rule a line. From the starting point line, you want to mark from shoulder to your chest line. Mine is 8.5, to the bust point is 9.5, to my under bust is 13 inches, to my waistline is 15.5, to my hip line, which is 24.5, and the length of my gown. So I will just go ahead and label the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, the waistline, the hip line, and the length of the dress. From the shoulder line, mark half of your shoulder measurement. On the chest line, mark half of your shoulder measurement. Then with your ruler, you're going to mark your armhole line. On the shoulder line, you're going to mark 3 inches and then come down by 1.5 inches for your shoulder slope for the front part now. So the front shoulder slope is going to be 1.5 inches. The back is usually 1. The front is 1.5 inches. Then from the chest line, go up by 3 inches and then go inward by 0.75. The bust I'm working with is 35. I'm going to add 1 inch and it's going to be 36 inches. So the front bust is 19, while the back bust is 17 inches. Because of the bust at the front bust is usually bigger than the back. So my front bust is 19 inches, my back bust is 17. So that 19 inches, I'm going to divide by 2. Or whatever thing I have, I'm going to mark on my chest line, and that's become my bust measurement. So you want to go ahead and connect your armhole curve. So we don't need this shoulder slope and armhole curve, but the reason I'm marking it is so that you will not be confused, especially for beginners. I already have a video on how to get your front bust and back bust in case you don't know how to do that. And if you don't want to use the front bust and back bust technique, you can go ahead and divide your bust by 4. On the other bust, mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the waistline, on the hip line, and then you want to go ahead and connect. So that is what I did. Mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the under bust, waistline and the hip line. Then you want to go ahead and connect to the length of your dress or your top in case you are making a top. So on the shoulder line, did you see, mark half of your shoulder measurement on the shoulder line, mark half of your shoulder measurement. Then on the bust point line, whatever you have as the half of your nipple to nipple measurement, you want to add like half an inch or 0.25 inch to it and then connect. So if half of your nipple to nipple measurement is 3.5, on the bust point you can go ahead and mark 3.75 or 4 inches. Then you want to connect from the half of your shoulder to the bust point and to the under bust, just like you see me do. So that is how I cut that line. So you want to go ahead and take your dart on the under bust towards the center front, you mark ½ inch for your dart, and also on the waistline, and towards the side seam you mark 1.5 inches. So I'm using a total dart of 2 inches. On the hip line, you can decide to mark half inch on the hip line. You can decide to mark half inch or 0.25. So on my hip line, I marked 0.25 on both sides. Did you see? So I want to go ahead and connect from the under bust to the hip line. Did you see that? So the dart I took on the hip line is 0.25 on both sides, just because I want that snatched look. So you can decide to come down by 5 inches and connect, or you can decide to take that dart to the end of the top or the gown. So I want to just go ahead and take the dart down to the end of the dress. I hope you understood. So in case you don't want to do this, you can decide to stop your dart 2 inches before your hip line, but I decided to take it to the hip line. You see, I added 0.25 inch on both sides of the hip line, and the reason why I did that is that I want to have that snatched look, and I took it down to the hem or the length of my top. So at this point, I didn't know that my camera has gone off and I was recording. So I was almost done recording the front part before I realized that my camera has gone off. And that is why I have to transfer my drafting to a smaller paper. So I will continue. So with this now, I'm going to show you what I did to the main pattern paper we are working with. So from this pattern now, I've taken my dart on the under bust waistline, that of 2 inches, and I've connected it towards the hip line, just like I did on the other pattern before my camera went off. So you also want to go ahead and connect the bust point on the bust point line. Like I said earlier, whatever you have on your under bust, you can add 0.25 inch or half an inch to connect. So you want to go ahead on the shoulder line, take half of your shoulder measurement, and then you want to connect. So for me, what I have on my under bust, I added 0.25 to it, and that is what I marked on my bust point. So instead of having 3.5, which is my half of my nipple to nipple measurement, I actually marked 3.75 on the bust point. And then you want to connect from the under bust to the bust point, and from the half of your shoulder measurement to the bust point, just like what I did in the previous marking. So on the bust point, you come down by 0.75 or 1 inch if you are on a plus size, and then with your curve ruler like this, you want to go ahead and connect. So this is called the contouring of the under bust. Come down by 0.75, and then you want to go ahead and connect to the under bust. So this is what you are going to have after you are done. So it's very easy and simple. From the shoulder line, you want to come down by the measurement you want, what you want to have. So I came down by 5 inches because I want this off shoulder. I want to start my bustier by that 5 inches. You can come down by 4, you can come down by 6, you can come down by 5 inches. So I came down from that shoulder line by 5 inches. So the next thing we are going to do is to contour the over bust. And to contour the over bust, you can use 1.5 inches. You can use 1.5 inches to contour your over bust. And if you have a very big bust, you can use 2 inches. So for me, the bust I'm working with is 36 inches. I'm going to be using 1.5, but I ended up using 1.75 because I wanted a very fitted top. I wanted it to be very fitted on the over bust, just like what you saw earlier, just like what you saw me wearing. So I'm going to be using 1.75 because I wanted a very fitted or tight dress. So if you don't want a tight dress or very tight on the over bust, you can go ahead and use 1.5. So normally I use 1.5, but I decided to use 1.75 on this video to contour my over bust. But if your bust is very big, you can go ahead and use 2 inches. You are not meant to add this dart back because it's called a gaping dart. So whenever you alter your bodies, you have excesses. So towards this part now I marked 1 inch, and towards this armhole part I marked 0.75 inches. Did you see? So from the bust point you want to go up by half an inch, because your dart is not meant to stop on the bust point. If you have a very big bust, you can go ahead and you can go up from the bust point by 1 inch. Then you want to go ahead and connect. So did you see? So I mark a dart of 1.75, but I said you can use 1.5 unless you want it very tight and fitted. So there are different ways to get the over bust, but this method works. Using 1.5 for small medium bust size or medium cup size is okay. For people that are plus size, you can use 1 and 2 inches, 1 inch on both sides, or you can share it to 1.25 and 0.75 on both sides for plus size people. So this is what I have. You want to go ahead and connect. So the next thing is to connect to the armhole. Did you see? You want to go ahead and connect this to the armhole. So this is me trying to connect to the armhole. So you want to go ahead, connect to the armhole just the way you want it to be. Did you see? So after that, I want to use my marker pen to highlighten it. I hope you are cleared to this point. So I'm taking my time to do, to be a bit slow, so that, to explain it a bit slower so that you will get this. But if you have any question, just let me know on the comment section. So from this part now, you want to take your neckline. So but for me, I'm going to be drawing the neckline to meet the center, to meet the chest line. So I'm going to be drawing this neckline to meet it. If you don't want this to be too deep, just take the neckline you want. Don't take it to the chest line. You can see mine is showing a bit of cleavage, though I do not plan on wearing it like that. So if I want to wear it, I'm going to be wearing something inside if I want to wear it outside. So if you know you don't want to show a bit of cleavage, you want to come down by either 7 inches to take your neckline instead of taking it to the chest line. So with this now, I have achieved what I have on the previous pattern, what I did on the previous pattern before my camera cut off that part. I have the same thing on the first and the second pattern. Did you see that? So that is what I did on the first pattern. So you can see we have contoured the under bust, we have contoured the over bust. So on the under bust, you want to mark 1/4 of your under bust measurement. Mark 1/4 of your under bust measurement. On your waistline, you want to mark 1/4 of your waist measurement. On the under bust, mark 1/4 of your under bust circumference, and on your waistline, mark 1/4 of your waist circumference. Then add the 2 inches dart intake on the under bust, add the 2-inch dart intake on the waistline. So from the chest line, whatever you have as the dart intake on that chest line, did you see, is about 0.25, just 0.25. Just go ahead and add it to the chest, to the chest line. Did you see? Just that intake you have on the chest line. So that is what you are going to be considering. From the chest line, connect to the under bust and to the waistline. That we took on the over bust, we are not adding it back. Please take note of that. So the hip I'm working with is 28 and 38 inches. The front hip is 17, the back hip is 21 inches because of the butt at the back. So that's why the back hip is bigger. So my front hip is 17. I'm going to divide my front hip by 2, and whatever thing I have, I'm going to be marking on the hip line, and whatever thing I have as the dart intake on the hip line, I'm going to be replacing it back. So I have it around that half an inch. So I'm going to mark half of my hip measurement for the front, and then add add back the dart inches or the dart intake on the hip line. So I have a video on how to get your front hip and the back hip. You can go watch it, but if you don't want to use that method, you can go ahead and divide your hip by 4. So what I have on my hip line, I'm going to bring it down to the hem part. So I want to remove like 4 inches from the hem part of my skirt. I want to remove 4 inches. So on the front part, I will remove 1.5. On the front part, I will remove 1.5. On the back part, I will remove 2.5. So I will go in now by 1.5 on my knee line, and then I will go ahead and connect. Normally, I use 3 inches. I will remove 1 inch from the front and remove 2 inches from the back. But in this video, I want to remove 4 inches because I want it to be very pens. So this is the center front and the side front. If you are a slim person, I would advise you remove 3 inches unless you want it to be very fitted or tight and you can work with it. That is when you can go ahead and remove 4 inches. So I normally do 3 inches, but I decided to do 4 inches because I want a very fitted, outfit. So I will go ahead and mark my zipper allowance for the back, mark my shoulder to the chest line, shoulder to the waistline, and shoulder to the hip line. So I've gone ahead to mark my zipper line, my zipper measurement. So I've marked my shoulder to the chest line, which is 8.5, my shoulder to my waistline 15.5, which is the front waistline. So this is my waistline, this is the front waistline, and this is the hip line, and this is the length of the skirt of the top. So I'm not working with the bust dart. So I'm not working with the bust dart. That is why the front hip, the front waist and the back waist is the same. So because I'm not working with the bust dart, so I'm going to show you how to remove a zipper bulge. So take half of your shoulder on your shoulder measurement and on the chest line and connect your armhole curve. Then mark your 3 inches and then come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope, and then go ahead and connect the shoulder slope. So my back bust is 17 inches, so I'll go ahead and divide it by 2, and whatever thing I have, I'm going to mark it on the chest line. So I'm starting my measurement after the zipper allowance. So you want to get the midpoint of your armhole line, then you go inward by 0.25, and then you want to go ahead and connect your armhole curve. So after I was done, this is what I have. Did you see that? So on my shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and mark my back waistline. So there is always a difference between your front and the back waistline. I will show you a video on how to take your front and back waistline. So my back waistline is 14 inches. So you want to measure from the shoulder to your back waistline. And from that back waistline, you go inward by 1 inch. Did you see? Go inward by 1 inch to connect your zipper bulge. So it is at your back waistline that you're going to go inward by 1 inch to remove that zipper bulge. You can see where I connected it. If you're on a big side, you can connect that to the half of your chest line instead of connecting it to the tip of your shoulder. Then from that point, you want to connect to the hip line like 1 or 2 inches above the hip line. I mark my shoulder to the back waistline, and from that point, which is 14 inches, I went inward by 1 inch. So it is at that point that I marked my dart or the center back tightening. It's called the center back tightening to remove the bulging effect. So at this point, you can decide to do the other tightening that you do at the back. You can decide to go inward. You can decide to do that inverted dart line that we have taught you guys on this channel. For people that are on a plus size, you can decide to tighten that by marking ½ inch down and ½ inch upwards on your waistline, and then connecting it on that waistline to get your back tightening, just like I've shown you on this video on the zipper bulging effect. So if I use this center back tightening, it works for me. But if this does not really tighten your back, you can introduce that inverted dart to remove that excesses. I hope you are cleared. So you can see I've remarked my zipper measurement. You see, I've remarked my 1 inch for zipper measurement. So the next thing you want to do is to take your, your dart line, half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the waistline, on the chest line, and also on the hip line. And then with your straight ruler, you want to connect from the chest line to the waistline to the hip line with a straight, ruler, with a straight ruler. Then you want to take ½ inch on both sides for your back dart. So take ½ inch on both sides. And from the chest line, you want to connect to the waistline. So let me just connect to the waistline. Did you see? From the chest line, connect to the waistline. And from the waistline, connect to the hip line. So that's very easy and simple to make. So you want to come on your hip line. You go up by 2 inches on your hip line and connect your dart. So you can actually do the same for the front part. You can also stop your dart 2 inches above your hip line. So on the waistline, you mark 1/4 of your waist measurement, add back the 1 inch dart intake, and then connect. Did you see, from the chest line to the waistline? So my hip measurement for the back is 21 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 10.5. So I'll go ahead and mark it. So if you don't want to use this hip allocation method where you get your front hip differently and your back hip differently, I will advise you you divide your hip by 4 and mark on that point. But using this hip allocation method has a way of defining your butt, defining your hip, especially for people that have a very large butt. It will make your skirt to align. So that's if you want to do that. So the next thing I did is from my hip line, I came down by 5 inches to mark my an under butt. So I want to define my under butt. So I've made a video on how to get your under butt, how to contour your under butt. So I want to have that under butt look. So that is why you see me coming down by 5 inches from my hip line to mark my under butt. Did you see? So on my knee line, did you see I came inward by 1 inch? On the under butt, you have to come inward by 1 inch, but I decided to come inward by 1.5 inches. This is because I want a well-defined butt. And please, if you have not done this before, I will advise you just go inward by 1 inch on your under butt. If you have not watched the video on how I explain, how to take your under butt contouring for different sizes, for both the plus size and the normal size, I will advise that if you want to do this on the under butt, go inward by just 1 inch. But my under butt, I went inward by 1.5 inches. This is to define my under butt. But on the knee line, I went inward by just 1 inch. On the knee line, I went inward by just 1 inch. And then I'm going to mark my zipper allowance. So like I said earlier, if you have not done this or don't know what to use, if you want to contour your under butt, I will advise you just go inward by 1 inch to avoid getting a way tight under butt that will not allow you to walk. So but if you have watched the video already, you might know how to go about it. So but if you have a very big butt and you have a tiny lapse and you go inward by 1.5 or 2 inches, it will not going to affect. So it depends on how big your butt is and how your thigh is. Do you understand? So if you want to do this method and you have not done it before, go inward by 1 inch on the underbutt. On the knee line, also go inward and connect. So if you don't want to do this underbutt tightening, whatever, you want to just go inward on your knee line and make a straight line to the hip line. Did you see? So that is what I'm trying to illustrate. If you don't want to do that underbutt tightening or contouring, from your hip line, go inward by 1 inch and then connect to the from your knee line, go inward by 1 inch and then connect to the hip line. You don't need to do all those underbutt contouring if you don't want to do it. So after I was done, whatever I have on my hip line, I will remove 2.5 inches to mark on the hem part. Whatever I have on my hip line, I remove 2.5 inches to mark on my knee line. Like I said, if you're a very slim person and you don't want all those fitted tight outfits, just go and just remove 3 inches instead of 4 inches. For me, I removed 4, 1.5 on the front and 2.5 on the back. But if I want to do my normal dress, I can remove 1 inch from the front and then 2 inches from the back. So I'm explaining all this so that by the time you are doing this, you will not say my clothes is so tight, or so that's why I'm telling you what I did. So from this point now, on the chest line at the back part, you want to remove mark 1 inch on both. I will mark ½ inch on both sides. This is called your gaping that as well. Then you want to go ahead and connect to the chest to the waistline. So but for me, I use 0.75 on both sides. That is about half an inch. That is about 1.5 inches. So I decided to use 0.75 to see the outcome. The outcome is that it was so fitted and tight, very like clingy to my body, like it was well fitted to my body, and I still love the outlook. But I would advise, if you're a slim person, medium person, just mark ½ inch on both sides of your dart and connect to your waistline. Then if you are a plus size person, you can now use 0.75 inch for your back part. You can use 0.75 inch for your back part on both sides and then connect to the waistline, and you are not adding it back. You are not adding it back. Trust me, when you are done making your bustier dress, it will be so fitted, and there will not be any gaping around. So that is it. So with this now, this is what I have. Trust me, this is so fine. If you use this method that I've taught you, you will love the outcome. So this is me trying to close up this dart so I will be able to remark my neckline. So my back is starting from the chest line. Did you see? My back part is starting from the chest line. So I will go ahead and cut out this. So this is very easy and simple. This method is very easy, very simple. So when you want to cut out the neckline part, you close the dart so that your neckline will be able to align together. So when I was done, this is what I have. So this is the final result. This bustier came out really good, just the way I wanted it. The next tutorial is on how to sew this with an inseam finishing. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.